All right, guys, so welcome to week 11. Let's talk a little bit about what is up for this week. We are talking about different types of analyses. We're talking about choosing the right statistical test, and this is your last week where it's going to be heavy for the assignments that you have to do. So this week you have to complete your final article analysis, your final SPSS exercise, so yay for that, and your last quiz. Okay, so it is a lot, but this is the last really heavy week, and now we're getting into the final project. Okay, so we're going to be talking about correlation, t-test, ANOVA, other common statistical tests, and how to do your SPSS to test. We're going to learn how to do a chi-square test. Okay, so work carefully through the analysis module, study the scenarios, the examples. This is going to help you figure out which tests that you need to use for the data that you're collecting from your survey. So that's going to be exercise 6 is the chi-square test. Like I said, it is the last of the SPSS exercises. Yay. You're going to do article assignment 3. Okay, so you'll be summarizing and evaluating your last research article and focusing on the statistical analysis and results of this article. Okay. And then quiz 3. So this quiz covers everything from measurement through analysis. It's not comprehensive. Okay, it's just over these sections. Okay, everything starting from measurement, ending in analysis. Okay. Next week we're going to be writing the results section. Progress check 6 is going to be due on Wednesday instead of Saturday, so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go to this week's module, and we will take that's not this week. It's not this week. All right, week 11. Oh, that's not up. Okay. I will get that published for you quickly. Okay, so types of analysis. All right, so exercise 6, jumping into the chi-square analysis. Actually, you know what? Let me talk about the article assignment first. Okay, so let's take a look at article assignment number 3. So same thing as normal, right? Make sure that you write it in Google Docs. It has to be written there. You can't just copy and paste into there. And then submit the link and make sure that I have editor access. Okay, editor access, not view. All right, so you've got your article, and then of course you have your instructions. So this article assignment is going to be focusing more on the analysis section, the results section. So we're moving beyond simply summarizing the research. Now you'll focus on analyzing and evaluating how the researchers handle their data and whether their conclusions are really supported by their results. So your goal is to think critically like a scientist, reviewing a study for publication. So you'll begin like normal by summarizing the research question and the methodology, briefly describe what the researchers, were investigating and how they approached it. For example, like what participants they used, what design they followed, how they measured the variables. Keep this part concise and objective. And then next, you're going to clearly describe and explain the main results presented in the article. Focus on what the data actually showed, not your opinion of it yet. So mention any of the key statistical findings the authors report, such as significant differences, correlations, or trends. Use precise language like the analysis revealed a significant increase in accuracy following training with a p less than 0.05. Avoid phrases like the results were good or the hypothesis was correct. Instead, report the facts as presented. Once you've summarized the results, move on to the critical evaluation. So this is the heart of your paper. Ask yourself, were the statistical tests appropriate for the type of data collected? Did the authors choose the right analysis for their research design? Were their conclusions reasonable given the evidence? For instance, if a study used a t-test when the data were not normally distributed, you could note that as a potential issue. The key is to show you understand how data analysis connects to scientific conclusions. So next, identify strengths and weaknesses in how the data were analyzed or presented. A strength might be that the researchers used multiple tests to confirm their findings, or that they presented clear graphs and tables. A weakness might be that they didn't report effect sizes, they failed to control for confounding variables, they didn't explain like how missing data were handled. Discuss both sides where possible. It shows a balanced professional judgment. And then explain how you might analyze the data differently or what additional analyses could strengthen the findings. For example, you might suggest adding a regression analysis to control for age or gender differences, running a post hoc test to explore group differences in more detail, and explain why your suggestion would make the conclusion stronger or more reliable. Okay? And then, of course, in the paper with a full APA style reference for your article. You don't need in-text citations for this assignment. Just one complete citation at the end of the article. Make sure the paper follows APA stuff, double space, 12-point font, all that good stuff. Okay, so, as you work, just pay attention to how the researchers presented their results and, just think through the questions that I ask on the assignment. Take your time to read carefully, all that good stuff. Okay. All right. So that is Article 3. All right. So on to the test or the exercise. Okay. So again, you do have to do this in SPSS, not Excel, not Google Sheets. Okay. So make sure you do SPSS. So let's look at the instructions. So we are going to learn how to run a chi-square test in SPSS. This test helps us see whether there's a meaningful relationship between two categorical variables. Okay, so let's start with a quick refresher. So the chi-square test, written as x squared, is a non-parametric statistical test. Hopefully that sounds familiar. That means it doesn't rely on assumptions about the shape of the data, like a normal distribution, a normal curve. Instead, it's used when your data are categorical, meaning that they fall into groups or categories like yes or no, male or female, taken introduction to psych or not taken introduction to psych. So they're categories. So what the chi-square test does is compares the frequencies that we actually observed in each category to the frequencies we would expect if there were no relationship between the variables. If the difference between the observed and expected frequencies is large enough, then the chi-square statistic will be significant, meaning that there's likely a real association between the variables. Okay, so to say that again, we're comparing the frequencies of what we observed in each category to the frequencies we would expect if there were no relationship between the variables. Okay, and so we expect no relationship, but if there is a difference, if it's large enough, then we say, okay, that's significant. That means that there is an association. Now let's look at our example. Okay, so in this example, we surveyed 40 students. Half of them had taken Introduction to Psychology and the other half had not. And each student answered a true or false question. We only use 10% of our brain's capacity, true or false. So a correct answer is coded as 1 and an incorrect answer is coded as 0. So we'll enter our data into SPSS with 2 columns. So the first column is your independent variable, which we're labeling no as a no intro or intro. So code 0 for students who did not take the intro course and 1 for students who did take it. So let's see. Okay, and then the ones who did take it. Okay. The second column is your dependent variable. So this is labeled brain. So again, code 1 for a correct answer, code 0 for an incorrect answer. All right, I love it when I don't screw it up. Okay, so change the names. Legal character. All right. There you go. Close enough. So once all 40 rows are filled in, you are ready to run the analysis. So from the top menu, click Analyze, and then hover over Descriptive Statistics. Okay. From there, you're going to select crosstabs. Can't seem to do it today.
Emotional damage.
Sorry, that's my text message. Turn that off. Okay, crosstab. So in the dialog box that appears, you're going to move your dependent variable, okay, into the columns box, and your independent variable into the rows box, okay? Next, you will click the statistics button and check the box labeled chi-square, and then click continue, okay? So now click the cells button, and under counts, make sure to check expected frequencies, because remember that's what we're comparing it to. Okay, so you can see what SPSS expected if there were no relationship between the variables. Then click continue and finally click OK to run the test. Right, so there you have it. So SPSS will produce two tables in the output viewer. So the first table is what we call the cross tabulation. It shows the number of students in each category, how many answered correctly or incorrectly, depending on whether they took the intro class. Okay, so the second table is the chi-square test, and it shows your test statistic. So look for the Pearson chi-square value and its asymptotic significance. Okay, the two-sided value. This is your p-value. Okay. And that's it. You've just completed a chi-square analysis in SPSS. So to recap, the chi-square test checks if there's a relationship between two categorical variables by comparing what you observe to what you expect by chance. So don't forget to save your output file as an .spv, upload it to Canvas, okay? Make sure you title it your last name _ exercise 6. Right, and thank you for watching, and great job completing exercise 6. This is not a hard one, so you've got time to work on your quiz, work on your article assignment. But if you have any questions, then just let me know.